This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
This offensive breakout in the second game against South Carolina on Saturday, does it make you a believer in the Razorback lineup, or do you see it as a one-off thing?
No, I was never a non-believer in the lineup because I just understand that baseball is baseball, and there are days where you're going to be struggling, and I think that they've kind of just, had a little bit of a lull offensively, but a lot of people on social media were freaking out about the offense and the lack of hitting, and, I understand two things. Runners in scoring, leaving runners on base and in scoring position is an issue. Getting into double plays, also an issue. But this is also the same lineup and, same team that were down 7-0 against Texas Tech and was able to come back and win 9-8 earlier in the year. So they have it. They just need to channel it again. And it's one of those things where you can't hit the panic button because they're just going to be lulls in baseball. And as long as they are hitting at the end of the year when it matters the most, things are going to be okay. So you kind of got to back off the ledge a little bit and kind of understand what's going on. We've hit that halfway mark in the season, and a little fatigue is going to show up, a little bit of, trying to just figure things out, and you now have to just get back on that train and get that momentum going again, and things are going to be just fine.
Just because we won't have you until next week, and we're talking Arkansas baseball, what I'm really excited. I love the game today. This weekend series against Florida, I think will be really fun. Now, it's not as marquee as it was when the season began, just because Florida's fallen off, and I don't really understand how that's happened. I know you're enjoying that, but. I mean, Jack Caglione is having the kind of season that stands out, even in a league where Charlie Condon is just going nuts, and Hagan has had this great year. But a Hagan Smith versus Jack Caglione at bat, I mean, give me 2 or 3 of those, please.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be fun, and I'm excited to kind of see again, Arkansas handling itself, trying to continue that win streak at home. But this is a Florida team. Obviously my coworker Courtney is a Florida grad, so we like to give her a lot of heck sometimes, but it's like you always look at Florida this year, and if they lose their midweek game, they're going to win their weekend series. If they win their weekend game or their midweek game, they're going to lose their weekend series. That's the trend that they've been on. So I think that they play Jacksonville State today, and so if they win, that's a good sign for Arkansas. But it is very strange because this Florida team is just not what it has been historically. But they still find ways, and they can beat you, so you have to take them seriously.
Well, you mentioned Jacksonville State. I saw that there is a new Arkansas linebacker coming from Jackson State, Larry Worth, who was a starter at Jacksonville State and a guy that has had probably more snaps at the position than just about anybody else that's on the team. He just hasn't had those snaps at Arkansas. But it also comes with the news that Snacks Johnson is going into the transfer portal, but that also goes along with the idea that he lost his starting spot and just wasn't going to back up.
Yeah, and then that's something that is the world that we live in right now. I hate it because I feel like, we kind of grew up, feeling that you fight for your spot, and our parents were not going to let us just quit that easily. And so you hate it from that perspective because you're like, man, you could still have that job. You just got to come back in the fall and earn it back. But that is what it is. But I think linebacker was the one spot, even going into spring camp, is what they needed more depth at, more experience at, because of what they lost in the preseason with all the guys who transferred out. So I think that regardless of what happened in the spring, they were going to go find them a linebacker, and they did. You hate to see Snacks go because I think he was just kind of a fun personality, as well as a guy who obviously started every game for Arkansas last year. But it's the world that we live in, and you kind of just, guys are gonna fall. I think we're so used to it, but do you remember a couple of years ago when we went through a whole entire spring and he played in the spring ball, and then it was like Mike Woods is transferring, and everyone was like, what? And you couldn't really wrap your head around that, and so you just are pretty conditioned these days to take the punches and roll with them.
Yeah, that's exactly the way to look at it, I think, from a fan's perspective, because you develop a relation. The people loved Snacks on Twitter and on social media. I mean, it's so they feel that they get a sense of who that person is based on that, or just entertained by him, and might interact with them and all of that. And then so I'm around football a little bit, but once Sailor Poffenbarger went into the transfer portal, I thought to myself, well, here's somebody from Maryland. Here's somebody who's really close to her family. And then the news coming out yesterday, transferring back to Maryland, and it all made sense. It made a lot more sense than say, like Talia Scott transferring to Auburn, which felt a heck of a lot more about the money. And I'm sure Sailor's getting something at Maryland, but that seemed to make more sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I saw that, that's exactly what I thought too. And you look at Sailor and just feeling like she wanted to be closer to home, and you can understand that. And I'm pretty sure, though, her brother might be the starting QB at Miami, so maybe one of them had to come closer to home. But, people enter the transfer portal for all different kinds of reasons, and now that you've added NIL to it, you can go wherever you want to without having to sit out a season. I mean, the power is in the athletes these days, and you just kind of have to, like it, love it, hate it, have opinions about it. We all do, but at the same time, there's nothing you can do about it right now.
We've been so breathless about all of the possible players that will come to play for John Calipari. There's been just a little bit of news pertaining to the women's basketball team. We know about Izzy Higginbottom transferring in, but that's been it. The news has more been about the players that have gone into the portal and who also committed to other programs, even in the SEC, like Talia with Auburn, Jersey Wolfenbarger at LSU. Pauline Love, assistant coach, has taken the same position at Alabama. So I'm still waiting for, we're getting a little trickle about Big Z and now Carter Knox and, of course, Coach Payne for the women's team. I mean, you're expecting you got the same, almost the same amount you got to replace.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, Haley Van Lith going into the transfer portal, and, where's she going to go? And she ends up at TCU. So, there has been some high-profile women's basketball news, and so I'm really interested to see. We were talking about that yesterday, like, what is Neighbors and that staff going to do? Because he understands he has to hit the transfer portal really hard to be able to bring some players in. And they're being selective, and they're kind of being patient, and I think that's exactly what Cal is doing. Obviously on a different scale because he had no one to work with. But you had Carter Knox come in and visit yesterday, and, there was a report that Jane Quaintance is also going to make a trip to Arkansas as well. And we were able to talk to Josh Passner, who was the former coach at Georgia Tech at Memphis, coached with Cal, as well as the Stetson head coach, Donnie Jones, about just rebuilding a roster. And they were just like, look, if there's anyone who can do it, Cal can, but he's going to be meticulous about it. He is going to be systematic about it. He is not Eric Musselman, who is going to let you know about every 180 players and their moms that he's talked to. He is going to be very selective, and it's different. And so Arkansas fans kind of have to respect both approaches and understand that just because you don't hear anything does not mean things aren't happening.
Yeah, that is an open difference in the two coaches. Like, Cal's active on social media, but it was so funny about he didn't even know what a Twitter handle is or what his Twitter handle was or all of that. It just, but whoever it is that runs his account knows what he's doing. It just also felt like, and I don't know if this was the case or not, but, I felt like Muss had a lot of control over his Twitter, and it was very, very, very active.
Active when it wanted to be. Active when it wanted to be. You can go back and look to when, right before he left, he didn't tweet very much. So you also have to think about it too, like what's going on and how are things going. And again, Cal knows what he's doing. He is where he needs to be. He doesn't have to show you publicly. And even Courtney asked him in the press conference after his introduction welcome ceremony, like, what are your plans? And he goes, I can't tell you that because then I'd have to tell everybody that. So this is exactly what we're seeing in terms of him just playing it a little bit closer to the vest.
Hey, what'd you think of Heston Kjerstad? I don't think it's official, but it's pretty much out there that Heston's going to be called up to the Orioles, which means that now, hey, the only other team I think in the big leagues where there's two Razorbacks currently on the active roster are the White Sox. and they're the worst team in
Right.
baseball with Benintendi and Dominic Fletcher. And I mean, that's just it's sad to see the photos
That is just what it is.
from Progressive Rate
No.
Field. The Orioles are good. I mean, they're really good. James
They
McCann
are.
has had a great start to the season as
Yes.
the backup to Adley Rutschman, and now you got Kjerstad there, and it's just I think more reasons for me to be an Orioles fan.
Well, yeah. Well, again, I think I've told you guys this. My grandfather was a scout for the Orioles, so I'll quickly jump back up on that bandwagon. But it's exciting and good for him too, because I know that he's worked hard, and he had that that health thing for a while there, and he didn't get and move up as quickly as people thought he would, being the number 2 pick overall. So I'm happy for him, and I know that he still has a lot of close ties here. I know he was here working out over the summer because I saw some stuff from some of the pro guys over the summer. So I'm just happy for him. But, man, it also makes you be like, we got robbed. We got robbed of that 2020 season, watching him as his junior season unfolded.
Yeah, but you remember when he showed up just ready to hit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so
Yeah.
did Casey Martin, but there was something about Heston and just the way he approached, even as a freshman, as a hitter, you could tell immediately. And look, the two freshman position players on this year's team, I think, have really bright futures that are getting a lot of time. I think Nolan Souza is a potential first-round pick. I love the athleticism and the strength that Ryder Helfrich shows, but they've also had their ups and their downs, And I know Kjerstad did too, but he was never taken out of the starting lineup. And man, how much fun was it to watch him for those 2+ years?
Man, it was so fun. It was so fun. Brought a lot of memories, especially that 2018 year and the Texas game that we'll all remember fondly, where he pushed the first baseman at first base for Texas and then shrugged his shoulders like, what? I was just trying to get to the base. I mean, if that's not your favorite Heston Kjerstad memory, I don't know what is.
Trying to think if there's another one. Oh yeah, there was one where he dropped a routine fly ball in left field, and then I think it might have been, was it even the same game? Was it the same game? Made a home run saving catch against the fence. It's just like,
yeah,
there was something about him, even just the way that he would smile. It's I loved Heston from the start.
He was special. Everybody in Amarillo knew it when he came to Arkansas, knew it when he got drafted. So you love to see that kid have success. I'm happy for him.
Dodgers playing well. I know Ohtani.
No, they're not.
What's going on there?
No.
I haven't paid attention. Tell me.
They were in a losing streak. They played Washington and I think lost 2 of 3, and then played the Mets and lost, and they finally won last night for the first time in a week and a half.
13-11 still. Why am I even looking at the standings? Who cares about the standings? It's not even a month into the
It's so
season.
early.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.